By the name above all names, Yahweh, I call upon the thrones and seraphim of the Most High, shield this gathering in golden fire. I cast out all interference, deceit, evil, and any spirit not of divine order. May no spirit or energy cross this threshold unless it has been sent by the Creator of light and dwells in perfect service to the True One. By the solar seal of truth, be banished. By the flame of Yahweh, be consumed. And so it is. So, for today's class, we're going to be going over seduced by suffering, when pain masquerades as purpose. So, the discernment pathway behind this lesson. This lesson is a revelation. Many old souls, empaths, and light workers confuse deep pain with divine alignment. Why? Because they've been trained through trauma, lineage, and false spiritual conditioning to believe that the deeper the suffering, the more sacred the love. But today, your ancestors and angels come with a correction to that lie. So, teaching 8. The trauma trap. So, the false belief. If it hurts this much, it must be sacred. We begin by unraveling the unconscious belief that pain equals purpose. Trauma bonds are seductive. They mimic intensity, but lack the true intimacy. The more unhealed we are, the more likely we confuse suffering with spiritual depth. Moving on to the savior complex versus sacred support. So the discernment point. Are you helping or are you bleeding for someone who won't hear? This teaches the soul to differentiate between supporting someone's growth versus carrying their cross. You are not Yahweh. Not every battle is yours to fight. This teaching unhooks the empath from their inner martyr. So, moving on to the romanticizing the wounded. So, a pattern, right? I see their potential. Potential is not reality, okay? A lot of divine souls wasted decades waiting on the idea of someone. This teaching cuts through illusions and teaches you how to honor action and not fantasy. Moving on to trauma mirrors and the false flame. So, warning. Trauma recognition is not always soul resonance. Some feel familiar because they echo our deepest wounds, not because they are soulmates. This breaks the idea that pain-filled correction or connection equal to your past life love. Some are simply karmic tests. So, repetition is revelation, a tool of discernment. The cycle reveals the truth. When you find yourself in the same pattern, it's not a lesson in love anymore. It's an avoidance of truth. We teach how to watch cycles instead of words. Moving on to the frequency of peace is a higher love. So the reminder, love doesn't always look like fireworks. True divine love feels like exhale, like grounding. It's not a constant emotional roller coaster. We teach the nervous system how to recognize peace as safety and not boredom. Moving on to contracts of codependency. So, truth bomb. Trauma can create soul contracts too. But not every contract is meant to be kept. Some are forged in fear, guilt, and spiritual manipulation. we go into how to spiritually dissolve what was never meant to bind you in love. So moving on to ascending into soul-led union. Let your healed self choose now, not your trauma, not your loneliness. We teach how to align with soul's voice so that only those in remembrance of resonance with your highest timeline are allowed near your sacred fire. Moving on to the mirror test. How energy reflects truth. As for the teaching, everyone you meet reflects something within you, your light, your shadow, and your unresolved stories. Discernment begins when you stop blaming others and ask, what is this showing me about myself? For an example, if you keep encountering people who devalue your worth, ask where you've been devaluing yourself in silence. Be it in your job, your friendships, or inner self-talk. The why. Your discernment doesn't only expose others, it reveals you to yourself. How to embody. Begin a trigger journal. Each time you're emotionally activated by someone, write, what happened? What story did I tell myself? What part of me is unhealed? This turns reactivity into revelation. Moving on to the emotional manipulation versus authentic empathy. So this teaching talks about discernment separates true emotional connection from subtle control. Real empathy says, I see you. Manipulation says, see me or else. For an example, a friend constantly shares their pain, but when you have struggles, they disappear. This is a one-sided emotional extraction, not mutual empathy. The reason why is that discernment guards your heart from emotional energy vampires. So how to embody this lesson, right? Ask yourself, does this connection nourish me or does it drain me? Then begin practicing non-reactive compassion. Feel with someone, but don't rescue. Moving on to the voice of intuition versus the voice of the wound. So this teaching talks about true intention whispers truth calmly. Wounds scream in fear or panic. The mind cannot discern clearly until the nervous system is calm. For an example, thinking someone is bad just because they remind you of a past betrayal is the wound speaking, not your higher self. And the reason why is without healing, discernment gets hijacked by trauma. So how to embody this lesson? Use breath work and stillness before making big decisions. Ask, is this fear or faith speaking? Trust the voice that brings peace and not panic. Moving on to the illusion of potential versus truth of pattern. So the teaching is stop falling for what people could be and start honoring who they consistently are. Discernment honors the now. For an example, you've been dating someone for years who still can't commit or communicate. They say they'll change, but never do. And the reason why is patterns tell the truth louder than empty promises. So how to embody this lesson, right? Make a reality versus fantasy list. The left side, what they've done consistently. The right side, what you hope for. Act based on the left side only. So, sacred boundaries as divine armor. The teaching. Boundaries don't push people away. They protect your inner temple. Discernment thrives inside a computer of energetic self-respect. For an example, you say yes to a project out of guilt, then feel resentment and exhaustion. Your soul was overruled. And the reason why is every time you override your boundaries, you leak your power. So how to embody this lesson? Say, let me get back to you as a default response. This gives your intuition a space to speak before your mouth does. Moving on to words of honey, deeds of poison. So this teaching talks about how don't let sweet talk lull you into false trust. Discernment listens with the spirit, not the ears. For an example, a person showers you with flattery, but constantly breaks promises, manipulates your emotions, or disrespects your boundaries. The reason why: deeds never lie. Words are only real when their fruits match. How to embody this lesson. Pause when people say the right things. Let time prove if their walk matches their talk. Moving on to the isolation versus sacred solitude. This teaching talks about how the discernment recognizes the difference between being divinely set apart from growth and being emotionally exiled by manipulation. For an example, someone makes you feel guilty for having alone time or exploring spirituality outside their beliefs. That's emotional control, not connection. And the reason why is your sacred solitude is where you realign with source. So how to embody this lesson? Schedule weekly sacred self hours. Turn off your phone, light a candle, and simply sit with your soul. Make solitude holy again. Moving on to the energy behind the eyes. This teaching talks about how discernment reads people's frequency, not their fashion. The truth is always present in their energy field. For an example, someone compliments you, but your body tenses when they speak. That's your intuition reading their hidden motives. The reason why is that energy doesn't lie. How to embody this lesson? Practice scanning people's energy first. Ask, how do I feel in their presence? Expanded or contracted? So moving on to the spiritual gifts do not equal spiritual maturity. So this teaching talks about how just because someone speaks with angels or sees visions doesn't mean they're walking in love or accountability. For an example, a psychic gives accurate readings but uses their gifts to manipulate clients or create dependency. That's not divine, it's distorted. And the reason why is that discernment demands you watch for integrity, not theatrics. How to embody this lesson? You need to ask, does this person aspire sovereignty or submission? Real light work empowers your soul, not enslaves it. Moving on to divine timing versus ego. Teaching The ego rushes because it fears, the soul trusts because it knows discernment discerns between pressure and alignment. For an example, you push a business deal or force a relationship to happen fast, but everything feels off and doors keep closing. And the reason why is that what's forced isn't flowing. How to embody this lesson. When feeling rushed, say aloud, I trust divine timing. What's for me will not miss me. Let that become your frequency. Moving on to entitlement versus sacred deserving. This teaching talks about how some believe they're owed love, attention, or power just for showing up. But sacred worth is earned through alignment, not demand. For an example, a person treats you poorly but says, you owe me because I was there for you once. That's transactional, not divine. Hey, greetings. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And the reason why is that entitlement cloaks ego and righteousness. Discernment exposes it. How to embody that lesson. Give from overflow, not obligation. You deserve love that feels like peace, not performance. Moving on to the frequency matching, not forcing. So this teaching talks about the right people, paths, and places match your energy. You won't have to beg, chase, or shrink. For an example, when you're in alignment, opportunities feel magnetic. The wrong ones drain or confuse you. The reason why, forcing drains your soul. Matching multiplies your power. How to embody this lesson. In every situation, you need to ask, do I feel met here? If not, release and rise. Don't cling to what cannot feel you fully. As for a soul reflection, this is a mirror for the empath, the healer, the holy rescuer. There's a strange seduction in suffering. Not the suffering that loud and obvious, but the kind that becomes familiar. The kind that becomes an identity. The kind that makes you feel needed, even as it drains the soul from your bones. Somewhere along the line, someone taught you that love was sacrifice. That to heal others, you had to bleed. That being spiritual meant carrying other people's crosses while vows dug deeper into your back. But today, this class, this sacred mirror, calls that spell out by name. Are you still calling codependency compassion? Are you still glorifying the pain because it makes you feel like a martyr? Who are you without suffering? And what version of you is waiting beyond the addiction to brokenness? You were not born to be a sponge for others' chaos. You are a lighthouse, not a lifeboat. You are a sovereign soul, not a soul for sale. As for some journal prompts. Where did I first learn that suffering equaled love or holiness? Do I find purpose in being needed? What happens when I'm not? When have I stayed too long in situations that drained me because I didn't want to seem heartless? What would it mean to love people without losing myself? How does it feel to choose joy without guilt? Then journal whatever comes out. Let your emotions come out. Let your anger come out. Let the mask crack and dissolve. This is where your sacred detachment begins. So this is a divine love letter from Spirit. To the one who forgot they were free. My beloved, you were never created to carry pain as your proof of goodness. You were born from stars that knew nothing but expansion, light that danced before time was born. You are not here to be diminished for the sake of being loved. You are not here to shrink so others feel comfortable. You are here to bleed out your worth and hope someone else will notice it. I have watched you give until your heart forgot how to receive. I have wept beside you when your silence became a prison, and I have stood beside you invisible as you called the chains your calling. Let me remind you, your compassion is divine, but it was never meant to be abused. Your empathy is a superpower, not a sacrifice. Your love is sacred, not owed to those who worship chaos. You are free now. Free to release what was never yours. Free to walk without explanation. Free to laugh again without guilt. Free to protect your peace without apology. I am with you as you shed this skin. I am singing over you as you reclaim your crown. I will never ask you to destroy yourself to prove your devotion to me. You are worthy of love that feels like home, not war. Return to yourself. I'm still here, where your soul feels whole. With every breath of divine grace, I am yours and you are mine, from Spirit. Now, moving on to the teaching, the inner oracle, becoming the I within the I. So understanding how your intuition and discernment operates. So you are not your thoughts. You are the one who hears them. Like discs in a celestial archive, they spin, and you read them. But they are not the author. You are. The source point you feel is your divine mind. This is where angelic intelligence meets human experience. It's why some thoughts feel alien, while others feel ancient, like echoes of archangels remembering its mission. The discernment is born here. The more you identify with the observer, right, not the drama, the more you begin to see through illusions. This is what it means to see with the eye of the seraphim, the all-seeing eye that pierces deception without becoming unclean. You are multi-dimensional. The shifting of thoughts is not a failure. It's a data flowing through your inner temple like a living library of divine codes. You tune into different channels depending on what your soul is ready to confront, transmute, or rise above. And thanks for joining the live, you guys. Thanks for the follows. So the mastery is this. You feel it all, you process it, you witness it, but do not bow to it. And the mantra for this: I am the eye behind the thought. I am the keeper of wisdom. Untouched by passing storms, I observe, I choose, I create. I do not become the noise. I become the truth. Hey, thank you for the follow. As for a divine declaration, I am no longer led by the voice of confusion. I am the watcher of the waves, the keeper of the flame, the eyes within the eye. I see all, and I bow to none but truth. So, you are not the thought. You are the one who sees it. This teaching talks about how you are the observer behind every fleeting belief, doubt, and emotional storm. The mind produces thoughts like clouds. Your soul is the sky itself. For an example, you're getting dressed and hear, "You don't look good today." You pause and you question yourself, who said that? Was it your soul or an old program from a 2012's, breakup? So for a discernment key, not every voice in your head is your own. Track the origin. Hey, thank you for the follow. So every thought has a frequency. This teaching talks about loving thoughts feel expansive. Fearful ones feel tight. Your emotional body is a sacred truth tester. For an example, if I don't text them back, they'll leave me. Notice the anxiety. That's not love, it's attachment dressed in panic. Hey, thank you for the gifts. The discernment key. Love whispers, fear screams. Listen to the quiet one. The third eye is not just sight, it's choice. This teaching talks about how spiritual sight is about choosing what to believe, not just what to see. Discernment begins with response, not reaction. For an example, friend, post a vague quote. You spiral, they're talking about me, or they just liked Rumi today. For a discernment key, don't spiritualize paranoia, choose your truth wisely. So not all emotions are present time truth. This teaching talks about how sometimes you're reacting to a memory, not the moment. So unhealed wounds echo in the now like ghosts. For an example, a partner says, "Let's talk later." Your nervous system screams abandonment, but maybe that's just they needed to pee. So a discernment key is that breathe before you believe. Ask, is this from now or then? Moving on to the spirit will never speak in shame. This teaching talks about how your angels and ancestors are direct. Yes, but they are never cruel. If the inner voice insults you, it is not divine. It is distortion. For an example, you'll never be enough equals shadow programming. Or this relationship is misaligned. You deserve honor. That's divine clarity. A discernment key. Truth convicts, but it does not humiliate. Moving on to the observer is the alchemist. This teaching talks about how when you witness your patterns without fusing with them, you gain the power to transmute them. For an example, jealousy arises. Instead of shaming yourself, you say, here's a wound about worth. Now healing can begin. A discernment key for that. The observer brings light. The reactor brings more shadow. Moving on to discernment is the sword of boundaries. This teaching talks about how true discernment cuts away what is not of your frequency. It is a sacred yes to yourself. For an example, You're invited to a high vibe event, but feel drained even reading the invite. That's your soul saying, this ain't it, chief. A discernment key for that lesson. If peace leaves the room, so should you. Moving on to the I within is eternal. This teaching talks about how trends, timelines, and triggers will pass. But the inner I remains wise, silent, and pure. For an example, you lose followers, someone gossips, the job ends. But your truth, untouched. Your essence, unbothered. A discernment key for this lesson. Build your foundation in the eternal, not the external. And that is how you win. A soul reflection for this lesson. When was the last time you believed a lie about yourself? When did you make a decision out of fear and wear it like it was divinely guided? How often have you absorbed the energy of a room, a person, or a projection without checking with the divine compass of your own knowing? You are not the static, beloved. You are the signal. Take this moment to center in your breath and whisper, show me the lies I believe were mine. Return to me my eyes. As for journal prompts, what are the loudest thoughts in my mind lately? Where do they come from? When did I last ignore my intuition, and what did I learn? What does my inner yes feel like in my body? My inner no? What spiritual beliefs or teachings am I holding that no longer serve me? Now, as for a ritual practice, what you will need to do is sit before a mirror, light a blue or white candle. Gaze into it, your left eye. That is the seat of the soul. Then you will speak aloud. I call back my clear sight. I cleanse all illusion. Then you will visualize distortions, doubts, and fears evaporating like mist. Then you will anoint your forehead with oil or water, saying, I see now. Now this is for the ancestral and angel prayer for this lesson. To the watchers of my lineage, to the guardians of my vision, to the flame keepers of truth. Strip me of false sight, burn away confusion, let my mind be still, my heart alert, my vision aligned with divine order. May I not be seduced by shadows, but see through them with love and command. This is a divine love letter from Spirit. Beloved flame, you were never meant to drown in noise. You are not the echo, you are the voice. I have watched you try to make truth out of chaos, to sculpt certainty from pain, to name yourself by the shape of your wounds. But hear me now. You are the still point in the storm, the eye within the eye, the one who was never fooled, only waiting to remember. I see you watching yourself now, and that, my love, is the beginning of your liberation. With wings of clarity, I am. For your soul's activation, I awaken the eye of the divine within me. I am the eternal witness, the clear seer, the trusted vessel of truth. I no longer react, I reveal. I no longer hide, I remember. I no longer fear, I see. And that's what I have for tonight's class, you guys. So, thanks for joining, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Hey, I appreciate it. Appreciate the likes, appreciate the follows, appreciate all the love. I hope you guys learned something tonight, a little bit about discernment. Oh yeah, you're very welcome. Stay tuned for tomorrow. I'll have more content out for you guys. I'll go ahead and post this on my YouTube as well for you guys. That way you guys can write down all those questions and practices. Definitely. You're very welcome. Absolutely. You guys definitely need to do that because, like, I taught myself how to heal. You can't learn that in church. You can't learn that in church. I'm just saying, you can't learn that in church. I don't know how many times I walk in church, I still ain't learned nothing, and then I had to go internal, and then I get called a demon or whatever, which is dumb. That was beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate it. What's your YouTube name? The New Age Mystic. Yep, the link's in the bio. Yeah, I'll go ahead and upload last night's live as well too, you guys, because that one had a lot about discernment as well, especially about relationships or karmics and soul ties and soul connections and lessons of such. So help you guys be more aware of who's in your life or who came out of your life, the reason why you shouldn't feel guilty or ashamed or anything like that, and just bring yourself back into sacred union with yourself. So, definitely. But yeah, is there anything else that you guys would like to learn though? I wouldn't mind making a class about what you guys want to learn. I can best help you guys understand. But just let me know. You guys can definitely message me or comment on the class photo that I have uploaded on my TikTok page about what you guys would like to learn about or would like to know. I'll be more than happy to make a video. So without further ado, I hope you beautiful souls have a great night. So deuces.